There's no need to cry anymore about not making the playoffs for the 2024 San Francisco 49ers because there's no need to anymore. There's no need to be desperate about making a one and done, getting smashed in the playoff appearance because there's no need to worry about it. There's no need to worry about it because even though the Niners knew what they were getting themselves into with the very small stakes that were in this Week 16 matchup against the Miami Dolphins, who were also fighting for their very, very small stakes as well in the playoff dance in January. It didn't matter for the 49ers anymore at that rate come game time because once they were the kickoff began, well, those stakes were gone. Those stakes were officially gone for San Francisco because the Commanders came back to beat the Philadelphia Eagles like right before the jump. The Commanders and Jayden Daniels came from behind to beat the Philadelphia Eagles in that crazy game. If you guys want to go back and watch some of those highlights after watching this recap of this game, that basically put to bed the 49ers, well, whatever was left of their playoff hopes and dreams. So I guess if we want to put it this way, thank you. We should all be saying thank you to Jayden Daniels. Thank you to the Washington Commanders for commanding the end of the 49ers' hopes and dreams of the 2024 season. They can finally now focus on what matters most. And that's hashtag losing them all. Losing them all, those remaining games for a top 12 2025 NFL draft pick, pal. And that's exactly what they were supposed to do here. Lose all these remaining 3 games so we can get that coveted top 12 draft pick for hopefully what Kyle Shanahan needs to realize, what John Lynch needs to realize, an offensive lineman, a premier offensive lineman, tackle, guard, center, anything to protect the quarterback that they want to pay. They want to pay Brock Purdy. I mean, I like Brock Purdy, but he didn't have a good year this year, and that's fine. But you got to invest in the offensive line. And this is another case of this game where, it was very sketchy. It was very sketchy. But we'll talk about the offensive line and Brock Purdy in a little bit because for some reason in this game where, well, the Niners were already already out of the playoff picture, but it became officially official in this game. Kyle finds a reason to play the starters for pride reasons when there's no more reason to, and then 2 of the starters get injured on the defensive front. Dre Greenlaw gets hurt, Leonard Floyd gets hurt. They leave the game very early with injuries. They get ruled out. But when Dre Greenlaw gets hurt very early in the game, and it's not the same injury that he suffered to the same leg. It's a right calf injury, so it's a different leg. But still, hopefully it's nothing serious. Hopefully he'll be able to recover. It's just something minor. But still, this is not exactly what you want, especially when you're already out of the playoff race. So this is something that you shouldn't be wanting if you're a 49ers fan. You don't want all injuries to any of your starters at this point in the game when you're already out of playoff contention. Like, why is Kyle Shanahan so insistent on putting his starters out there? If these players want to be out there, I mean, I understand. Maybe you still want to be out there. You want to play for something to go into the offseason. But at this rate, it's risky. It's just very risky. It's like an 8-ball, pal. But when you look at this game as a whole for this team, because at this rate, you're just playing for what you can look forward to in the offseason. At least the passing game was kind of going for the most part, although it was kind of sloppy in for half of the game. And if you want to look at it on a positive note, George Kittle, once again, the only consistent player on the offense. Brock Purdy and him clearly have a connection going. So George Kittle, clearly the one of the few keepers going into the offseason. Deebo Samuel, meanwhile, finally decided to have a solid game for the first time in, I'd say, a month or two, breaking away from tacklers after the catch. So he clearly heard the noise from the last game where he dropped that clear touchdown in a game that could have been much different against the Rams. But alas, yeah, he had a much better game, although it comes several games too late. So he finally has a very solid performance. But again, they're out of the playoff picture. So this is where he finally decided to show up. Okay. So, yeah, the defense also, they did okay. Gained some all right pressure on Tua. But then, yeah, the secondary was They managed to only allow one touchdown, but they still managed to allow points anyway. And that's where things somehow managed to still fall apart for San Francisco. Because for as much as they only allowed field goals to in the Dolphins, their offense couldn't pick up the slack for the rest of the way. That was because the O-line couldn't protect Brock Purdy. They were allowing relentless pressure on the Dolphins' defensive front. And they also managed to lose their backup left tackle because Trent Williams wasn't playing. And they also lost Aaron Banks late in the game again. So that's a big yikes, especially coming off early in the week where they were getting gifted Toyota trucks. Yeah, not exactly a good game for this offensive line. Meanwhile, you have Ricky Pearsall. He had a fine game until like late in the third quarter where he kept lining up illegally. He had 2 back-to-back illegal formation penalties, and then he got chewed out for it by his receivers coach when they went 3 and out. Yeah, very bad mistakes by Ricky Pearsall. And then, of course, like because they didn't get that touchdown, that drive continuing, they tried to go for a field goal in the third quarter on their only drive of the third quarter. But of course, it would be a late season, a 2024 49er game with the typical Jake Moody missed field goal pal. Yeah, the chance that the Niners had to get at least closer with the Dolphins in the game at that point. Jake Moody missed the field goal. Typical. Can the Niners cut him in the offseason, please? Or at least bring in some competition? Like, seriously, get rid of this guy. And then when the Dolphins get another field goal in, it's like, 5 points now? It was 22-17. They had a chance to try and win this game. Then Brock Purdy tries to, at least instill some confidence in him going to the offseason with those contract negotiations coming up. Yeah. Then they had a chance to go down and quote-unquote lose it. Brock Purdy, at least they did all us Niners fans a favor. He forced an interception to the safety, Kader Kohou, of the Miami Dolphins. People were pissed about that interception. Oh, he forced it in them. He got hit. Yeah. I didn't really necessarily like that interception under normal circumstances because he should just eaten the sack or could have ran out of the pocket to get out of pressure, he wasn't doing that much in this game. And when he was, it didn't look great. He ran out of pressure, but he was holding on to the ball for too long and he ate a bad sack. But in this case, where he threw the interception to Kohou, he should have just eaten the sack. Or he could have ran out of the pocket and just throw the ball away. But hey, he did a necessary sacrifice. So that basically ended the game when Devon Achane, just basically decided to stat pad the score for a touchdown. Meanwhile, speaking of Devon Achane, looking at it from the Dolphins side of things, they were able to pick apart the 49ers defense for much of the game. Although, like with the 49ers, they couldn't really cash into the end zone aside from one touchdown from Tua to Tyreek Hill in the red zone before the end of the first half. They could only muster most of their points from their kicker, Jason Saunders, because at least the Niners defense, they were able to stop them from scoring in the end zone aside from that touchdown. So that was because, Tua kept getting dared by that Niners defense to throw the ball downfield because they knew damn well there was no receiving threat down there aside from Tyreek. And Tyreek, outside of that touchdown, nowhere to be seen. I mean, sure, they had Jonnu Smith, but that was pretty much it. The passing defense for the Dolphins, they were seemingly getting burned by Purdy in the 49er offense. Again, seemingly couldn't muster much due to the heavy pressure due to that Dolphins front four, who all quietly had a strong game, getting to Purdy, mainly because of that weak offensive line by the 49ers. So yeah, overall, when you look at this game, not really a lot to look at for both sides. I mean, the Dolphins, they got a kind of sloppy win over a sloppy 49ers team. So they're basically still alive in this AFC wildcard race by a very slim margin. But they have some very tough competition in the form of the Broncos, the Bengals, and the Colts. So honestly, I don't expect them to get that because, well, the Broncos and the Bengals are in a key matchup on Saturday. So the Broncos are probably going to take care of business, bounce back from that loss against the Chargers that they had last Thursday. So this is a key game for both of these teams, and I expect Denver to wrap up that last wildcard spot at this rate. Meanwhile, for my San Francisco 49ers, well, at least they stood on business and won how they were supposed to by hashtag losing them all, pal. But if we're being serious for a second, though, I would have questions, though, of how Brock Purdy played in this game. He made some questionable throws. He had that bad interception to end the game. He did run out of the pocket, but he held onto the ball for too long and took a bad sack. So, yeah, it's really coming to the question of, would you really give him that big fat contract extension, let alone $40 million per year if you're San Francisco? And then, yeah, that beat up offensive line is getting even more beat up with all those injuries. So, yeah, not looking good to hit in the year for the 49ers. But, yeah, that's been the story of failing to finish the story back in February. So, looking ahead to week number 17, oh boy. If the 49ers want to stand on business even further, pal, look no further than a game. Then, for whatever reason, the NFL decided not to flex out for whatever godforsaken reason. And it's still on a Monday night next week. Yeah, the Niners get to play on Monday night in their home finale. And that comes against Jared Goff and this habanero hot Detroit Lions team. Yes, a much hotter Lions team than they faced back in last year in January in the NFC Championship game. So this is an NFC Championship game rematch. Yeah, that the Niners get to play in front of millions and millions of people. Yeah. Two completely different teams from a year ago. And yeah, I expect a demolition. But hey, I would still at least watch this over Monday Night Raw. Yeah, the week before it moves to Netflix. So, speaking of which, Jared Goff and the Lions, they easily beat the Bears 34-17 in their Week 16 meeting, with 27 of those points coming in the first half. So, let's see how many points Jared Goff and the Lions will score on the 49ers in the first half. In prime time, pal. Oh, boy. It's going to get ugly, people. I'll say that. But we'll talk more about the game when we get closer to that Monday night game. So drop your thoughts on what this game was between the 49ers and the Dolphins in the comments below. And just 2 more games left until the Niners' season of failure to finish the story back in February. Yeah, just 2 more games left. And then it's over. It's officially over. And then we can finally look towards their off season. So until then, keep that lasagna very cold in the fridge with your takes on the world of sports. And until I see you, when I see you in the next one, peace out.